The Hilltop Glove podcast is sponsored by Mid Carolina Service Company.
Mid Carolina Service Company is the first name to search for your residential or commercial HVAC needs in Lexington and surrounding areas.
Just go holler at Jason and Clint. They'll hook you up on the air conditioners, on the restaurant equipment, refrigerators, refrigeration, ice machine repair. They've been doing this for years. I know them cats forever.
Family owned and operated since 2006, they pride themselves in their quality work and customer relationships. Call 803-356-4153 or visit midcarolinaserviceco.com for a no obligation quote for service today. This episode of Hilltop Glove Podcast is proudly sponsored by Your Dollar Store, located at 3017 Farrell Road in Columbia, South Carolina. Owned by Brian Thomas, Your Dollar Store has been serving the community since June 2021 with a mission to provide fresh produce and essential household items to neighborhoods in need, serving areas like Booker, Washington Heights, and other nearby locations affected by grocery store closures. Your Dollar Store is a convenient one-stop shop for those seeking healthier food options and affordable essentials. Support a local business that's dedicated to giving back. Your Dollar Store, where you can shop, chat, and leave with a smile.
The Hilltop Glove podcast is sponsored by True Brilliance Entertainment.
True Brilliance is a production, promotions, and management company dedicated to connecting artists and producers across the Carolinas to music industry professionals.
Several of their clients have placements both domestic and internationally as a result of their services.
Are you an artist or producer looking to build meaningful relationships within the music industry? Then True Brilliance is for you. Check them out at paramilitary.com. That's spelled P-A-I-R-A military.com.
Welcome to the Hilltop Glove podcast.
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 The Hilltop Glove Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the Hilltop Glove podcast. Today we have the pleasure of speaking to Christine Johnston. Christine creates abstract, soulful, introspective paintings that represent characteristics we strive to embody, such as authenticity, humility, patience, and resilience. Her art is a reminder of an invitation to continuously seek the strength within and have the courage to fulfill your purpose. The images reflect our journey to self-identity, the meditative process needed to get there, and the rewarding peace and clarity obtained if we successfully do the work. Growing up in Jamaica, Christine was surrounded by people who were not defined by their lack of material wealth. Their strength was rooted deep within themselves. This is the energy that her art reflects and reminds others to harness. When she creates art, she shows up at the canvas, surrenders, and waits patiently for miracles. She has learned to release preconceived expectations of how the finished piece should appear. Instead, she listens to a creative and lives spontaneously. She recognizes the healing process and the aspects of her art and knows that her art pieces will add serenity wherever they live. She looks forward to a lifetime to bring inspiration through the arts. How are you today?
I am wonderful. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
And your pieces definitely speak that language.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we kind of like to start off each episode explaining your history and background. Like your bio said, you're from Jamaica, but tell us what it was like growing up.
Sure. I was born on the island of Jamaica. I had 4 sisters and 1 brother. And life was simple. And it's the same simplicity I find myself craving today. We didn't have electricity, so therefore no television. So that's where the creativity started because we had to make and create our fun. My first art teacher, I would say, was my sister. Okay. So we would do things like say, create an art scene of a grocery store just randomly and have art contests within the family. And I remembered her helping me to fix certain things that weren't quite right. Fast forward, when I was 10, we migrated to America and lived in Pennsylvania forever, it
Okay.
seems. So I went to college at Shippensburg and minored in art. And then after graduation, I ran into my counselor from high school, and she encouraged me to start selling my art. So that's in 1994 that I started selling my art. From then until March 2024, I did art part-time.
Okay.
And I finally found the courage on Women's Day, International Women's Day, March 8th, to resign from my full-time career in human resources and become a full-time artist. And I am now at peace, and I am fully aligned with what God wants me to do at this journey of my life.
Man,
Wow.
that's amazing. That's amazing. Wow. So I have to ask this, and I'm happy that you said this. And this is going to come to in the next question. We're talking about vulnerability and et cetera. But being able to transition from full-time work, working for somebody else as opposed to working for yourself, pouring your life into that. I know a lot of our audience and our listeners, lots of questions about the jump and having the faith to make that type of jump is very hard. And it doesn't always turn out properly the first time. Could you explain or embellish a little bit about what it was that you had to do spiritually with yourself to say, you know what? I'm done serving them. I'm going to serve myself.
Well, God has been tapping me on the shoulder forever.
Oh, you've been getting messages.
Many, many messages. And I'm thankful for his patience with me because it's been a long time. And I would just say, but I got these bills to pay. Or, like he isn't the one providing in the first place, right? So I had to make some decisions. My parents were getting older as well, so I wanted more time with them. So I had to make a choice. And I knew that I did not want to put art on the back burner anymore. I had a coach, Carrie Ann Lawrence, that also helped me to make that transition. And it was important to have her because she showed me that I'm not running away from anything, but I'm running to myself.
Oh, perception, yeah.
So it was like I was always running away from myself, and I finally turned around to meet myself in its wholeness. So I'm now whole. That's how I can explain it.
Is there a market difference? I always like to ask folks this because is there a market difference of Christine before and Christine after? Are there certain things you could point to and say, yes, I can see that change definitely in my life and what I'm doing?
I'm a lot more confident because I feel whole. I'm showing up as a whole person.
As your full self.
Yes, instead of the person before desired. I had this desire. Well, desire has met
Actually,
the being.
Yeah. And that's a totally different
Oh,
place to
it's
be in, isn't
totally
it?
different.
Yeah. It makes you move differently. You probably take your pursuits without fear.
Yes.
Because I think that's a big thing that a lot of us deal with is fear.
Yes.
I'm afraid to do this. I'm afraid to do that. I know I was talking to my brother about this. Some of the stuff, issues that I'm having, even with the podcast, like doing certain things, it comes to, do I really want to put everything into it? Do I really want to put all my eggs in that basket?
Yeah.
Am I not afraid enough to move forward? And that fear can be stifling, and it can keep a lot of us from actually fulfilling our life purpose.
And the alignment come from being aligned with God. So I no longer am looking to myself for strength.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
So I just know.
Just a
And
vessel.
and I listen more.
Yeah.
So as I said, you don't walk around fearful.
Yeah.
You just learn to tap in and to listen. You know?
Can you talk about the process of being more vulnerable, and how do you approach each piece?
Sure. So vulnerability, surrendering. When I show up, art is teaching me how to be a better person. So the same relationship I have with a piece of art, I'm learning that's how I need to show up in relationships with people. So I learn to listen more to the art piece. I learn to be patient. I learn not to be controlling, manipulate the piece too much. I learn to spend time with the piece. Just like you have to spend time with people to develop that relationship, to hear what it's trying to say. So I've learned that art is my teacher. When I show up and I am in that moment, that's when I feel the closest to God.
Yeah.
So having time and having solitude when I create is critical, because you don't want the interruption of that flow. The phone is off because that ding interrupts
It really does.
the flow,
Yep.
Yeah.
right?
Like the connection.
It
Downloads.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I create in silence, sometimes I create with music. And with music, now that I'm more in touch, I have to be careful.
Yeah.
And I laugh because, my first love is reggae music,
We love it. We love it over here.
And that beat.
It gets going, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes the lyrics is not too right? You know what I mean? But I love it. But now that I'm more sensitive, I have to be careful in what I'm listening to, I find. So hopefully that answers that question.
Perfectly, actually.
That's awesome. Because, and I want to jump off what you were saying with that, because, I mean, a lot of folks that listen to our podcast, we have musicians, different type of artists, different mediums, and et cetera. And I like that when you're creating that, the space and that opportunity to be a vessel, you are open.
Yes.
And I like they said about music, because the vibes that are coming through the music, the message that's coming through that music, you may not be aware of the effect it's having, but obviously it's going to be in there. So, like, even with these pieces behind us, were you listening to any particular songs?
Yes, reggae was a primary source. There are times I listen to jazz and classical music,
that's my stuff
and
right there.
sometimes it's silence, right? There's a certain rawness in my work, imperfections. I love texture. And if you had to describe reggae, there's some raw energy there.
There is.
A lot of the faces sometimes have a serious smirk on it too. It just talks about the struggle that sometimes we embody or have to go through with the simplicity of life in Jamaica. As I said, we did not have a lot of amenities.
Yeah, could you build on that some more, just that background, so folks understand? Because, of course, our audience, mainly, we're looking at folks in the Southeast area, and a lot of them, they may not have an understanding of areas outside of America and how those areas are developed. So I was paying attention to this when I was looking at your information and looking at your bio and your journey, and I thought it was amazing because lots of times we'll gripe, will cry, will complain, and do not realize how
Grateful.
grateful we should be, how good we actually have it. So explain to them just like growing up without certain quote unquote amenities and how you now are appreciative of them now, or how you realize how that actually has changed your life.
Well, I'm from Gordontown,
Okay.
and for those who may not know, it's
geographical,
kind of
yeah.
Kingston area, so away from the Montego Bay Ocherias.
None of that stuff.
You're right, in the hills.
Yeah.
So, as I said, no electricity, no indoor plumbing at that time, but we had fruit trees
I was about to ask farming, right?
everywhere. Mangoes and guineps and soursop and anything you can think of
Yeah.
was there, that access. So, you know, these days we talk about living off grid or being grounded. That was just
Natural.
life, right?
Yeah.
Walking barefoot outside in the clay, in the dirt, was normal. And now I realize how important and how
Beneficial.
healthy and
Oh,
beneficial that
yes.
was.
Yes.
Right? So there was a simplicity and richness that we had, while, you know, the other materialistic things we did not have. But as a little girl, you know, I would visit others and say, you know, why doesn't our toilet flush, right?
Aw.
You know?
Yeah.
So I would start drawing homes, and that's where my first love is. I love
wow.
beautiful homes
Yeah.
to this day.
Interior design.
Interior design is something I really want to get into.
About architecture.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then fashion design, because I desire. That's a little girl.
Yeah, you came in today. I had to mention. I said you're looking very beautiful
Yeah.
today. Your color
Thank
coordination,
you.
everything is on point.
You know, but as a little girl, you want the pretty dresses and
Yeah.
things like that. So that's when I started really drawing the things that I wanted, and created my reality with pencil. So hopefully that answered your
No,
question.
answers it
Yeah.
very well.
Yeah.
Very well. I know. Next question we're going to is just asking about arts, culture, and color, and obviously it's very much on display here.
Right.
But the arts often go hand in hand, and we would like to see if you could just tell us about any other hidden talents that you may have outside of course, doing your medium and with paint and design for the images. Can you explain the importance of your culture in your work as well?
Okay. So we talked about that a little bit. The culture is evident in the bright colors.
Yes. Yes.
The culture is evident in, you see the full lips and the full nose. So that comes into play. As far as hidden talents and
Yeah.
things like that, they're mainly desires. And we
Okay.
touched on that a little bit. I desire to partner with others regarding a clothing line
Okay.
in the future. I desire to see my art on like fine linen,
Yeah.
Oh.
Textiles.
cotton.
Textile.
Yes.
Printmaking.
Yes.
That was my
That's her.
senior project, was printmaking. And I
Okay.
did it on African Anakara designs, like the print.
Yes.
So I'm looking at how you layered the texture. It looks like snake skin on. I like that.
Thank you. But clothing, interior design, of course,
Yeah.
obviously, with putting art in beautiful homes. And I would love to design rugs. I would love to design dinnerware. So those are things that I have as visions for the future.
I can definitely see it.
And those
Thank
things
you.
just build on the talent that you currently have, which is awesome. And I think that's something important for the audience to know too. Pardon me, that you can actually have a talent that you are great at, and there are other ways for it to be used outside of your normal spectrum that you work in. And I know I'm going to ask this again because. How do you get all right? So I know you kept talking about this color because apparently you like color.
Yes.
I can tell.
Yes.
I mean, head wrap and
Yes.
everything. So, could you explain to us just a little bit? I mean, and you can walk from piece to piece
Yeah.
and explain it. 'Cause we have time. The reason for the color, if there's any specific meaning behind it. And how did you get these textures? 'Cause I'm looking at these here with the snake skin almost in the design, and then how it looks like it's kind of stitched together on these as well. What was the impetus behind that, and what was the technique used to get that effect?
Sure. So as far as technique and texture, I use a lot of recycled products.
Ooh.
So say we're looking at the red piece, it's acrylic paint.
Okay.
These pieces here are sticks that are painted on.
Whoa.
So it's on this. Let me just say, this is a reproduction.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
So the original, you will see, this is actually a stick. This is paper where you use to protect the things when you're shipping.
Yeah, you wrap it.
Yes,
you wrap it. That's
paper.
what it looked. I thought so.
That is exactly what it is. And the netting that you see under the eye there is basically the fruit bags. The bags
Be
that fruit come in.
quiet.
So you just cut. Yeah. I play.
I see
I
that.
show up and I play.
Uh-huh.
A lot of it is tissue paper on that. And at the very bottom corner where you pointed there, that's another stick right there. So I tend to use the pieces of sticks in there as well, and acrylic paint. But I fell in love with tissue paper because my earlier works are black and white.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was challenged, or maybe you call it afraid, to get into color because mixing to get the right color, sometimes, it's challenging.
Yeah.
And by the time I get the right color, I'm tired, right?
You've done all that work.
And acrylic dries so fast, so it's like you got to move fast.
Right.
So do you have
if
to
it's a
plan
big
it
space?
And the answer is no, because now, because I use tissue paper for my color most of the time, the color is already there.
Okay.
So I can go back to feeling, functioning in the feminine energy versus thinking.
Okay.
And that's how I show up at my piece.
Okay.
I feel.
You really are channeling the piece.
I feel.
Yeah.
So I become one with it. So I'm not thinking. The moment I start thinking too much, nothing happens. It lets me know that you're not in control of this, right?
So you really are
So
surrendering.
how do you bring yourself back to
Because it's not
awareness?
working.
You just walk away and come back, or
Yeah. So you walk away, or I reel myself in. So you're thinking too much.
How do you stop yourself from? Because and I think this is something just to
Yeah.
talk about with creatives in general. You'll run into writer's block or creative block. Any techniques that you use to help yourself refocus and ground yourself when you know, hey, I'm going too fast, all these thoughts racing through my mind, I need silence?
Yeah. Nowadays, it comes easily because I realize nothing is happening. And I say it's because you're trying to control the process.
Okay.
So the switch happens in my brain, and I start to feel the piece instead. And I look at the piece and just study it. And it talks to me. Yeah.
Now, I have a question. How do you know how to price each piece? You said
Oh,
you were having trouble,
practicality,
when you first became an artist, and now you're doing it full time. So how do you actually know what price to mark a piece? How much time do you put into it?
Yeah.
Or
And that's a good question because I researched that because I was like, how
Yeah.
do you price your piece?
Yeah.
And there was a gentleman that talks about a price per square inch, whether it's $1, $2, $5 per square inch. So when I first started out, I sort of used that. And then if I saw that it sold, I'm like, okay, that may work. So I use that in a way.
okay. Because I see some pieces out here that are just like, okay, who's going to afford that?
Where did that come up from?
Like,
Did
did
you
they
bring
just
that price
make?
up?
Did they roll some dice?
Yeah, yeah. So you just have to think about the market that you're in as well, with how well known you are as well, and also value.
Oh, that's what I was about to
Do
get
you
to. Yeah,
value
what is your
yourself?
value? Yeah.
And, what you think your self-worth is as well. So a lot comes into play.
Okay.
But it's not easy for an artist to put a price on a work.
That's what I was about to ask. It's your child. It's your baby. You birthed it.
Right.
And I have this question, and just building off that with market. The current market that you're looking at, what would you consider your market to be, like the demographic that you would want to sell to? And what have you witnessed pricing-wise that is a pain point where they can't go past that threshold? This is a question I've always wanted to ask artists about, just pricing paintings and stuff.
And I'm going to answer it, but if I don't answer it exactly, let me know.
You're good.
So, what I realize is that if somebody really wants the piece, they'll pay for it.
Yep, they don't care.
They don't care. So I realize that if you may say, Chris, this is just too much, I like it, but it's too much, then I realize it's okay. This piece may not be for you. But would you like a print? And that...
Thank the Lord for prints.
Yes.
My fault. I apologize, but I'm the guy. I'm like, you got that in a print.
Yeah.
I can afford the print, and then when I get right, I'll come and get the painting. Yeah.
And to your point as well, that's one of the reasons why I did the book.
Yeah.
Because there's access at a price point that I think is accessible.
Yeah, it is.
And I want my art to be accessible. I think it's important, especially for children, to see art and feel art as a young age, like you do music.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
And unfortunately, we do introduce children to music immediately, right?
Yeah.
But art, it's not the same.
Right.
No, there's an access issue with it, and a lot of it is due to cost,
And it's
which is weird to think that.
it's important.
And then
But
the education system, removing some funding from arts to fund other areas is just... Because art is therapy, and these kids that's the only type of therapy they could probably get in the school system.
Yeah. That's actually...
Besides the guidance counselor.
You're not lying. And the idea of just being able to go to a gallery and looking at art, to be able to have some kind of interest piqued from that, to then have your own journey with it, they don't do that anymore. It's hard for that to happen still.
Yeah,
So,
that saddens me.
Yeah.
It really does. Because I just know what it does for me and for those who consume it.
And it does so much for you, but like you were saying, getting back to it, I'm going to agree with you on this. Access is the biggest deal breaker for some people when it comes to art in the traditional sense of it. But at the same time, I want the artists to get paid and reap some kind of reward for what they're putting their soul into, because I want the artists to have a good quality of life.
Yeah.
I know there's David Banner talked about this on an interview, and you were hinting at this a little earlier, making sure value is perceived by those who are actually ingesting the art, and that they know that you value yourself. Because the higher your value is for yourself, those folks will see that and they will respect it and actually pay that price point to have access to that art, because they know that you're aware of your value.
Yes.
And until you do that, you're leaving yourself at a disadvantage. And then for the youth, they look at it, and if they don't see that you're valuing yourself, or that there's not value to be had in something, they will leave it. They won't touch it. They won't interact with it. They won't have anything to do with it. And I always thought that was interesting because, what's the word? Let's say it like this. So the whole poor righteous teachers idea of artists and et cetera, in our community specifically, hurts me. Because a lot of those folks are the people who are actually pouring into and giving information, education, feelings and emotions that are positive and good for development, but they don't have much value. Instead, we put value into things that are, a lot of the things are negative to our society, whether it be music, whether it even be video, pieces of art that are made. A lot of the positive proponents that are out there, they don't get that same value added. And what the children do is they run after the stuff that's getting the value. So this guy, he's driving in this car, he's living this lifestyle, he sells this type of art.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go after that one, as opposed to somebody who's out here trying to put positivity out, but the value for the art is low.
Yes, and the question too with my art is, what value do you put on inner peace? Because the art that I do is to inspire and direct your journey to inner peace. It is to remind us to make inner peace our priority. It is to remind us that we're responsible for our inner peace. So when there's a piece of art on the wall, it is to be served as a partner piece on a daily basis, to visit on a daily basis.
Remind yourself.
To remind yourself. You know how they always say, if walls could speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can.
They can.
Yeah.
And they are. Yeah.
Right. So what I create is meant to be a long-term part of your being and family heritage, okay?
That's a good way to put it.
To remind us that our inner peace is so important.
It needs to be a priority.
It needs to be a priority.
Yeah, instead of everything else that we have going on, we put everything in front of that. And I can get that because I do art also, but I don't show up. I do not show up to the painting. I'm doing all this other stuff, workforce, everything, but I have not shown up to the piece. And now that I'm listening to you, I'm like, wow, I haven't put it as a priority. It's not even on my schedule. And that's
Man,
it's the fear that he was saying earlier that was blocking me. So that's why I'm asking you all these questions about pricing.
Yeah.
The texture, you know, showing up for yourself, and the techniques you use to calm yourself down when you're overthinking. Because I go through all of that.
Yes.
But you have to like slow down.
Yes.
Yeah.
And once you hit that alignment, you know, like Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, yeah.
Once you line those
Once
chakras,
once those colors line up, right? There's no going back.
Yeah. You're different after that.
Oh no, there's no going back.
Yeah.
Do you teach classes?
Not at this time. Now, I did in April the first Art Journey to Inner Peace workshop. It's a multisensory workshop
Ooh.
with art, aroma, yoga, and sound therapy.
I'm coming. When's the next one?
I don't have a date yet, but the first one,
Went well?
it was magical.
Yeah.
It was about 20 women together. And it is so necessary to take time to be and build community with others.
Yes.
I look forward to doing the next one. It was about 2 hours, and you came in and you found your place in the circle when the sound therapy is going. I don't know if you've ever experienced
Sound bowl healing? Yes.
Oh,
Hertz frequency is just amazing.
it makes you cry.
Yeah.
It cleanses you on the inside. So that's going. And then after that, we move to the art walk and we journal. What are you feeling? What are you seeing? We come back, we share. And then we do some yoga. And then we end with affirmations. So that's just a super short version of what happened. But it was magical.
That does sound amazing.
It was magical.
You definitely will have to let
Us know about the next one.
And if it's just for women, not a problem, still let us know. Send to my
Yeah.
And, you know, it's available for if you want an alternative when you gather with your friends.
It's true, yeah.
You
yeah.
and 15, 20 other friends
Yeah.
want to make it happen.
Yeah.
It can happen,
Yeah.
okay? Corporate America would love to do it for that.
Right.
Yes, that's the goal.
Everybody needs it in the
everybody-
workforce.
yes.
I'm telling you, art is just a release. It's an easy release, kind of like stretching and yoga and breath work. All of that is free, and we don't take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And put time to it. I guess this leads us into this is the question before we get to the fun stuff I would like to say. But creativity.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's what we're discussing today. It resides in all of us. Would you be able to tell us about how your creativity has grown over the years? And what are some pivotal moments for you that our audience may need to hear that would help spark their growth or continue to push their interest past the fear and the worry and the doubt?
Well, looking at the pieces, how it's changed over the years. I moved from black and white. I do incorporate it still.
Yeah.
But now I am fearless when it comes to mixing and blending colors because, again, I'm creating from a space of bringing the energy, the work to life. So not inserting myself too much in it. So the place from which I create is different. It's from full alignment. It's from a whole place. So that's what's different today. Pivotal moments. One I will mention, years ago I used to go to October Gallery in Pennsylvania. They used to have a huge art exhibit. And I had a chance to see Kimmy Cantrell's work in person.
Ooh.
He's an artist out of Atlanta. And he created these abstract faces. And when I saw his work, it was kind of confirmation that somebody else sort of thinks the same way I do with abstract work. And yes, there were other masters in the past, but when you see a live person who looks like you is doing them, like, oh, I'm not crazy. I'm not too out there. So that was a pivotal moment for me to see someone who I just felt akin to, you know?
Yeah, because art speaks. When you look at someone's artwork, you're like, oh, I'm relating to them on so many levels.
Yes.
Especially when they talk about their piece and explain it or the process that they took, the steps they took to get to the layers. You're like, oh, wow, I do the same thing with my artwork. Or I thought about the same process, but I didn't try it. I did this instead. It's like experimenting and see who's brave enough to actually put it out there. Yeah.
And when you have a little bit of company, you know, you feel
community,
community.
Yeah.
And I know this is why I said, ooh, get the fun stuff. So I'm gonna ask you some off-topic questions. This is stuff I was looking at.
Sure.
Why did y'all choose, or why did your parents, why did they choose to settle in Pennsylvania? I gotta ask that because I thought that was interesting. I was looking at your background and when you went to school and stuff. And
Sure. And when we first moved here, we moved to Maryland.
Okay.
And stayed with family for about a year. And I don't know if you know the economics of living in the Maryland area.
It's tough.
And trying to buy a home. Because, you know, one thing I've learned from my parents and my father particularly, you know, we never rent, you know, so buying a home was important.
Yes.
That was not possible.
Not in that area. There's not enough land,
Okay, we just moved to the country.
Yeah.
So we were able to do that in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And we just stayed there for years until the cold just starts to get into our bones.
That's why I asked that, because y'all came from the island, y'all went to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Right.
It was rough. It was rough.
Man.
It's cold up there.
But as a child, it was easier. But as you grow older, you're like, no, living in a fridge is not normal.
No, you have to see greenery. You need the you need the
I need
birds.
the sun.
I need to see land.
We need the sun.
That's why I like the country.
Yes, we like the sun.
I like down south.
So we visited, and on the first visit, we bought.
Okay.
It reminded us so much of Jamaica.
Wow.
And the warmth of the people.
Aw. I'm so happy you moved down here.
Yeah.
The warmth of the people.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the festivals you've participated in?
Yeah.
Sure. So I'm in Moja right now. Sunday is the last day for that exhibit at the City Gallery on Prelude Street. The artist reception is 3 to 5
3 to 5, yep.
on Sunday.
Okay.
And I'll be there. I've done Spoleto in the past.
Okay.
My art has been submitted for that and selected at the same gallery, City Gallery.
Awesome.
And I've done a lot of, not a festival, but with the Okiba Jabalo Gallery.
Yes.
I've exhibited with them quite often here and in Atlanta. And their next big global art fair
Tell 'em
is
about it.
October the 26th.
Okay.
And you can find out more about it by going online at the Global Art Fair. So the Global Art Fair.
The Global Art Fair.
To get tickets, and they're very inexpensive.
Yeah, tell 'em, and I know we're going to get to that point.
They're accessible.
Yeah,
Yes,
they're very accessible.
very.
It's like I was telling her earlier, we were talking about this. It's like a canned good donation.
Yeah, like
Like,
$5.
yeah, man.
You know, or
Yeah,
when
man.
it sits, $15.
Yeah.
And it's not just art.
Mm-hmm.
The art is amazing.
Yeah.
But you're going to have a fashion show.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
There's going to be
Got performers.
live,
Yeah.
along with other things. And just the community, that atmosphere, being around people and talking with them about the work. It's very special. Yeah.
And that's awesome. I know we'll list the dates and stuff. I pulled everything up so we can look at it at the conclusion. But we always like to ask this question to guests because we are a program for millennials learning how to become successful, move through careers, balance work and life. Easiest question, most difficult question to ask or answer. How do you find balance in your personal life?
It's a lot easier now.
Preach. I figure
Because I'm one.
yes. Yeah.
I'm one with myself.
You're no longer split.
I'm no longer split.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, that's how I feel right now. Yeah, you are no longer split.
Do you have a morning ritual or certain practices that you make sure to accomplish every day?
Well, recently I've started listening to the birds. So now I when I drink my tea, most of the time I go outside and I sit. And I didn't realize how loud they were.
Oh,
they were always there. So now I listen to the birds. I also got into using doTERRA oils for healing.
Ooh, explain.
Even just aromatherapy.
Okay.
Because back to the Art Journey to Inner Peace workshop, Carrie Ann Lawrence is another coach that taught me about the importance of oils in healing. Just, even with bathing for the hair, but just aromatherapy. So I kind of just sniff my oils in the morning, whether it's tea tree oil or thyme, oregano,
Lavender.
Peppermint, just inhaling those oils are also important to me, just to feel that jolt of aliveness. Yeah.
You have dropped some jewels on us today, sister.
Yeah. Do you have any upcoming events other than the ones this month that we can help you promote, or you want anyone to attend?
Sure. So other than the Global Art Fair and, of course, Sunday for Moja, I do have a solo show coming up next year at the Park Circle Gallery, and that's in North Charleston, South Carolina. The entire month of April, I will be on exhibit there, so I'm preparing for that.
Okay, so we have to come out and support.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
That's also that's a good month.
Yeah.
That's a very good month.
I've been wanting to attend Park Circle. I saw that they redid it, and I haven't been there yet. So I haven't seen it yet. They redid.
It's been years.
Yeah, I haven't been there yet.
She has. I didn't think about that. And I always think you would go down there to go see it.
No.
Oh, yeah, it's totally different.
Okay, so I went there with a group of friends to do yoga, and it was awesome. There's a playground there.
Yeah.
The swing.
I heard it's a skate park and everything.
Yeah, it's not what it was.
The swings called me, and
The swings called you?
I sat and I swung. So the Playground is not just for kids, it's for adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful now.
Yes. Also, my book is coming out, The Art Journey to Inner Peace. It's at the printers right now. They told me that the covers are ready. They just have to stitch everything together. It's hardback.
Excellent.
And 112
Excellent.
pages of art.
Can we pre-order it?
Yes, online at christinedjohnson.com.
Okay.
You can.
And it's affordable.
It is.
It's so accessible. Yes, it is. Just for people who maybe think, oh, that's supposed to be $125.
No,
It's not.
It's $50. And there's art, there's poetry, there's photography, there's ceramics in there. So it's a great collection of art, again, to direct and inspire your journey to inner peace. It's not just a book to sit on the coffee table. It's intended to be used every day. So I gently walk you through the process, through the journey to inner peace. The 5 paintings that you see here are the inspiration for each chapter. So we start with the shedding, chapter 1, which is releasing everything that does not belong to your divine self. And then we go to chapter 2, which is courage, right there. And basically, it's courage to face yourself, to embrace your imperfections. And I'm sorry, we're going to go with courage here. What you're looking at there is strength, which is the 3rd chapter. So it's getting fully aligned with your purpose. And then peace between the raindrops is behind me, and that's finding balance to finally get to arrival, which is fully aligned with your authenticity and also your purpose. Each chapter at the end have prompt questions for you to journal. So if you fully
More than a book.
If
book.
you fully participate in the book, by the time you start with the shedding, by the end you should be different.
This reminds me of a phoenix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Phoenix Rising, Arrival. Yes, it is more than a book. It's not intended to.
That's
sit
what I
on the
noticed.
coffee table.
That's what I noticed. Yeah, it's
No.
not a book. It's not just not just sitting there looking pretty.
No.
It has functionality.
No, you got to work
functional.
with it. You
Yeah.
have to work it.
I like stuff like that. That's, again, when we talked about value, I know we're going to wrap up, but that in itself, I love functional art that has added value.
Yes.
Especially in our community, a lot of times we'll downplay art, thinking that, hey, if it's not a Jordan shoe on my foot, how am I using it? No, this is a very useful product. I know I'm going to pre-order it, and I'm going to use it. My wife and I are going to be using this book because I think it's very dope.
We
Very
all
excellent
need some
idea.
art therapy. We need to have an art class.
Yes, we need to do it when next time we have our meeting. We need to have this book and go through it together as a group. Yeah, man. Yeah.
So how can people find you if you are on social media? Tell us about your website and everything like that.
Thank you. My website is my name. It's Christine.
I like that.
With a CH. RISTINED, as in Daisy, Johnson.com. So ChristineDJohnson.com. I'm on Instagram as Christine D. Johnson Art. On Facebook and LinkedIn, it's my first and last name, Christine Johnson.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent.
Great episode.
Great episode. I want to just, again, thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining us today.
Thank you.
I think you said this is the first time you've been on a...
On a set like
Hey! We love to introduce people to it.
excited.
Thank you. We thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank
Um,
you.
The artwork speaks for
say it.
itself.
Say it.
You know, it's just good to see people put their love into what they love to do,
We can
and
tell.
it shows.
It shows.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I know wrapping up for the Hilltop Glove, this is DJ and what?
Tamaya.
Scoop. And our esteemed guest.
Christine D. Johnson.
Excellent. Until the next time, tell somebody next to them that you love them, that you appreciate them, and that you cherish them. We will see you next time on the Hilltop Glove Podcast. Peace.
Peace.